Why, hello there. Let's get set up here right quick. Make sure. Oh, that ain't right. Ba, ba, ba. You. Let's try that again. Now, there we go. Now we're talking. I do need to turn that down for myself before I blow out my ear holes here in a minute with any notification sounds that come up. Okay, so let's also double check. You seem all right. And you seem all right. Excellent. Let's go into a project here. I do think I want to actually put really quick. Well, I guess like in my mind, this is all in a nicely laid out sort of deal, but that's not actually true, is it? Okay, so I guess I won't worry about it. But 1 second, my coffee is ready. I'll be right back. It's almost like I was never gone. I mean, it's been not a long time. I'll be right back. 1 second. Thought I was gonna have time for that to be done before stream started, but I wasn't. Now we're caffeinated. Hey, Justice, how's it doing? How you doing? I'm doing okay. My AC is very much broken. The motor is fried on the fan. So it's gonna be a warm day. It's gonna be a warm couple days until I can figure out where to get a motor for it. Or come up with another plan. We'll see. I was having trouble tracking down the parts last night, but it was not a long endeavor because it was a long day. Might be able to repair it. Yeah, if I can get a reasonably priced motor, they don't look too bad to replace. My only the only thing that causes me trepidation would be the fact that I don't like heights and I don't really want to get on the roof, and I'm not a small person. And theoretically, I should be able to walk up there. Theoretically. But you know, it is what it is. The one that, yeah. It's a roof AC because I live in a camper until I figure out some other thing. Like for just $1 million, I could totally square away a new adventure mobile. Donate now. Makes sense, you. Why not settle for a fan? Well, I have a fan turned on right now. But it's 90 degrees already, which is like 30. What did we say yesterday? 33 C. And humidity is also a thing. Is the noise canceling doing a good job? Then you tell me. Can you hear my fan? I got you. I'm rubbing bank for you. I appreciate that. So the fan should be in the same place it was yesterday, and I asked if my audio was okay, and people said it was still good. Is it still good today? Two fans should do it. I can't really hear it. Good. Then the filtering is doing well. It's filtering, and I also have a directional microphone instead of like the cool guy. It's on an arm, so I can't really show it too well. Instead of like the cool guy podcasty mic. Great audio, excellent. My ears are a bit broken though. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, instead of the cool guy popular podcasty mic, I got a directional mic because it was on sale. I wanted better audio for Zoom meetings and stuff because I got it in the home times. And it was on a really good sale, and I was like, it's a microphone, should work, right? But it turns out that being directional is really good if you're not in a super quiet area because it makes off-axis sounds less likely to be picked up. So the noise filtering has to do less work. Happy accident. Okay, so structs to structure related data is where we are. We've gone through ownership. I feel like I have a reasonably good handle on what they're talking about. I suspect that copying, moving technically in Rust lingo will bite me at some point, and I'll be like, why doesn't it work? Oh, because I'm dumb. But yeah. So structs, I love structs, so I'm glad Rust has them. I miss them in object-oriented languages. It feels like creating a class to hold a thing is just ugh. But yeah, we're not gonna quite do 8 hours of Rust book today, I don't think. We'll do some, and then I want to get back to the editor. I want to get that branch buttoned up. The error, if that is the case, should be pretty good though, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Well, I'm not worried. I'm just prognosticating, if you will. Anywho, I hope you all survived because I know it was late your time when I switched over. Best I can do is 12 hours. Well, I streamed for 10 yesterday because I went and played some Space Marine. That was super fun. It's a really fun game. I want to make more time for playing some games on stream. And I think I've talked about it a little bit yesterday. You don't have a Shure SM7B? I don't. I have a Audio Technica AT 2005 USB, I think is what it says on there. And I forgot to turn that off. Or mute it, rather. Oops, wrong button. Yeah. Let's do that. We will address that later. I guess it could be worse, right? Let me fix my camera because moving has caused it to disobey and decide to autofocus when it's not supposed to be. Let me make sure that that's actually, now that I think about it, make sure that's still set and an update didn't change it. Auto exposure, manual mode. White balance, all in manual. PTZ doesn't have it, but it is set to focus automatic continuous is unchecked. Okay, it's just disobedient. I recommend spending just a week learning Rust. I promise you that month will be the best year you'll have. It's crazy. Do we all have like a long range Rust sensor? How do y'all get here so quick? Yeah, Discord pings. Maybe I remember the stream starts at 5 p.m. Maybe you did. I'll watch a bit of this, then lurk in the background as I go back to my game. The factory must grow, right? Speaking of Discord, I forgot to actually open. I'm a bad Discorder. Just in case it comes up. Okay. Factory must expand to meet the needs of expanding factory. I mean, that will happen. And like, yeah, I mean, if I was in a place to commit to just like spending a week solid on Rust, I would probably consider that to be a good plan. But I'm not, because I have these projects. And it was either I split my time up a little bit more, which, yes, it's a problem, or I had to delay the rusting until I could finish that branch. I want to finish the editor branch for the multi-map changes. It's on the to-do list because every day that I don't look at that code, I'm losing context, right? See, watching people game stuff like Call of Duty, Factory, or Minecraft proves that children yearn for the war, the factory, and the mines. All these civil rights are misguided. Okay. So structs. Custom data type. Yep. Structs like an object's data attributes. Okay. Yep. Are we just not going to acknowledge that gophers exist, Rust? How dare you? How dare you not think I exist? In this chapter, we compare and contrast tuples with structs. Okay. Demonstrate how to define instant. Yeah, okay. We're gonna learn structs. We're good. I got it. Yeah. You'll name each piece of data. Yep. Yep. Uh-huh. Okay, so we call struct. All right. Or we use the keyword struct to be technical. Fields. Okay. Yep. It's also not an expression, but a statement, for example. Oh boy, here we go again. Create an instance. Okay. Yep. I'm just gonna skip that, and hopefully I know everything I'm already about to read, because this just looks like normal. Okay. Normally setting up a struct same way, same as in Go, basically. This far. You always have to fully initialize it though, so there's no default values. Nope. Okay. Good to know. Good call out. Dot notation. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Oh, except for. Oh, no, you're setting, changing it. Yeah. For a second there, I was very confused. There is with the default trait. Well, there you go. Well, there is the default trait interface that many types implement, so that kind of is a default, but it is not implicitly used. I see. Um, feel like I missed something here. You want to set something to default, you have to explicitly use it. Gotcha. Okay. And I did. I scrolled too far. Okay. Dot notation. Yes. Changing the value. The entire instance must be mutable. So the thing is, the default is explicit, and you can decide what the defaults are. Okay. Right. Yeah. You don't want the default of the base type. So Twitch has done this thing. What he said. Twitch has done this thing where this thing fucking scrolls periodically. Like, I don't need this shit. I am me. And it looks like chat out of the corner of my eye is moving, and it keeps getting me. What the fuck, Twitch? Stop it. Oh my god. Okay. Note that the entire instance must be mutable. Okay. Good to know. Rust doesn't only allow us to mark certain fields as mutable. As with any expression, we can construct a new instance of struct as the last expression in the function body, right? Because we implicitly return, which I hate, with a fiery passion. Oh yes, and there's also, if you're viewing, a little icon that keeps popping up in the bottom to click for channel points, which is hugely yes, yes. Fortunately, I don't get that one, but I do get the other annoying one. I don't like to do that except for very simple structs, though, since what that actually does is creates a default instance of the entire struct, only copies parts of it and discards the rest. That sounds awful. I didn't say that. I don't recommend doing it either. Okay, so I usually just use Bon for builders anyway. So gonna build user. It returns a user. Give an email, and using the active field gets value true and the sign in count gets value 1, right? Okay. Bon is great, yep. It has an external crate. Gotcha. Don't worry, it's uses you'll get takes the update syntax bit coming up. So when they're declaring this as mutable, do you always have to declare? But they didn't declare mutable here. So I assume that when they're saying this, they mean that if you make a struct mutable, they all must be mutable. All fields is what they're trying to get at, right? And this is an immutable return, correct? They're only saying you can't declare individual fields as mutable, right? I've never used it. I tend to prefer my new or my from type or my builder pattern, all of which are base language at standard lib. It's exactly it. If you want to change any field, the struct must be mute. Gotcha. Can you initialize, like, in a function here without like wrapping it? You should still be able to initialize this as immutable if you didn't want to change it here, though, right? Like they've mushed all these examples together and made that call out, and it's muddied the waters of what they were trying to say. If you need something mutable, you need to declare the entire struct as mutable. Right. That part I get. Doesn't have to be. Gotcha. All children of the struct are mutable, including the children of children. Okay, right. Makes sense. You can initialize without reason. That example is right. Yeah. Yeah, but they've mushed all these different examples in with this call out in between, and it's really confused the points that they're trying to make. Um, if you move something to another var out of a function into a function, when you receive ownership of something, you can always change if it's mutable or not. Gotcha. Yeah. We saw that. Um, that's where you're talking about like Rust does a lot of shadowing, right? Because things like this right here, we took a mutable and made it immutable basically by doing this operation just along the way, right? I would recommend leaving feedback on the bug. It's on Git, so you can drop issues. Yeah, maybe so. a a Marco was square rooted with math.squirt in the category of getting squirted. Ah, chat. If you move something, or yeah. For example, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Hang on. Oh my gosh. Uh-huh. Let's do that. I like my Hindley Milner type theory t-shirt. What? Oh man, I just regained my life force just to watch it get blown away. Hey, turnabout is fair play, Yamanoid. All right, let's take a look. Oh no. Oh no. You monster. My camera again. Apparently, it's going to be one of those days. It would seem. It might have something to do with the fact the lighting is a little crazy today. It's very sunny. You get back to working. And while we're here, let me also just try that. Okay. The thing about that shirt is you can make one with a subtle mistake in it, and anyone who corrects you out in the public is an instant friend. Or you might have to duel to the death because there can only be one turbo nerd. I am. See if I can find it. Nope, not that. The very old shirt. Been around for a long. There we go. This is my programmer shirt. God tier way to pull the right women, maybe. Turbo nerd. That's people who wear the shirt and make fun of lesser nerds. Only wear shirts like P equals NP. I find it funny. Excellent. All right. Let's try and get through more than 3. um Dot notation, yes. Instance mutable, yes. Hang on. Why is everything is popping off right now? Okay. That can wait too. Notifications that don't often come up came up. So I was like, is the world on fire? No, we're good. Okay. Build user. It makes sense to name the function parameters with the same name as the struct fields. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Having to repeat the email and username fields and variables is a bit tedious. Oh, boo-hoo. The struct had more fields, repeating each name would get even more annoying. That's true. Luckily, there's a convenient shorthand. Yeah. Okay. Well, we won't be using that because you're trading explicitness for this obnoxious fucking tendency programmers have to play code golf all the time in every single day. So you get 27 fucking ternaries in a line and a half. And you're like, well, what the hell does this code actually do? I don't even know. List comprehensions? Fuck you. Okay. Struct update syntax. Useful to create a new instance of a struct that includes most of the values from another instance of the same type, but changes some of them. Okay. I even fully understood it at some point in time. Now I'd have to think about it again a bit. My experience condensing username in the struct is generally a pretty clear one. I mean, it's clear, but it's not. It's not like you have to think about it, right? As opposed to just sight reading, cool, username, email, cool, fine, got struct, onwards, right? Like, it's the difference between having to stop and go and translate in your brain, okay, this is the username, so it's the field username, which is the parameter username, versus username is the username thing, email is the email thing, sign in is one, we're setting that, we got active is true, cool, we're on. You need to think about it as a function of how used you are to it, though. I didn't really think about it personally. I mean, that may be true, but having done the explicitness and the verboseness of Go, I feel now strongly that that is the correct answer, is to be explicit and verbose. I will agree that some types of shorthand defeat their purpose because it allows you to type way more bugs per line. I mean, you're just adding in clarity, the potential for it, right? You get used to it the same way you stop using returns at the end of functions. It's a great quality of life. I mean, I just don't see it. How about Go's tendency for zero values, which means you can simply omit fields in a struct in it, and then you have to know which fields even exist and what their zero values are. I usually prefer to initialize them. Usually, if they are not present, it's usually in a test or something, and it's because it's not relevant to that test. Usually, I'm sure there's occasions where I have not followed that pattern, but that is sort of like the ideal. Let's not argue about an insignificant structure and continue reading. We're discussing philosophy, essentially. We're not arguing yet. Hang on one second. Let me tweak this a little bit. My shoulders keep disappearing, and it makes me feel weird. Let's go. Oh, you know why? It's because I put on a green shirt today. It's probably not the best, smartest move. Should have picked a different color. You can also always spell out fields even if they have the same name as far as you do. Well, that's why I said we won't be using it. No one is stopping you. Rust Analyzer isn't a cop. It can't actually put you in jail, even if sometimes threatens you with it. I don't know, man. Clippy correctly warns you that you are not a 10x engineer if you do. Pretty sure that I have heard that the blue hair police will knock on your door and they will ask you if you have a license for that return statement. Are you now partially trans? I was a little bit transparent. But I've made it worse in the other direction now. I'm still trying to dial this thing in like exactly the way I want it. That only happens in California. Fair enough. Send help. The streamer is slowly turning into a ghost. I mean, if my shirt was a little bit lighter, I might be able to get away with just being a disembodied head. But also, Mr. Ash, that's a great argument for why, another great argument for why I don't want to move to California. The other argument is it's just too expensive. I don't want to pay $3,000 a month to live in a refrigerator box in somebody's garage. Okay, so yep. Struct update syntax. Includes most of the values from another instance, same type, but changes some of them. So what they're saying here, these don't end up moving, right? How are these not references? I already pay 960 euros a month. That's more than enough for me, right? They do. So they are references to the, or they do move rather. So user 1 is now invalid. For me, it'd be expensive, hot, and I generally don't want to live anywhere in the US. I mean, that's fair. Instance update strict. I've used in 2 places, default and changing a few fields or the builder pattern. That doesn't work if your struct implements a custom drop. No, in this example, the user 1 struct is kind of consumed. Parts of it are moved onto the new struct. The variable is invalid. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. You partially move fields out of the struct, you can still use the other ones. Yeah, but you're I don't know why they're talking about this. Like, this just seems like a terrible idea. Not the struct as this entirely, right? Using struct update syntax, we can achieve the same effect with less code. Oh, it's kind of like embedding. But not at the same time. It's like embedding in syntax, but actually is moving things around. Like you could still use user 1 email afterwards here. I feel like if I have gone to all the trouble of creating a struct, why would I only want part of it to work? That's a good analogy with Go. Yes, gotcha. With just the caveat that you have made Swiss cheese out of your source. Rust knows if you move partials of the struct, it keeps track of the fields which aren't moved. So if you move the same field, it can track some other might still be able to be used. said maybe your default gives you most of the struct and you only want one field changed in your new. Weird. Weird. That's what I'm going with. Different value for email. Yep. Choose specify values for as many fields we want. Okay, yeah. Struct update syntax uses equals like an assignment. Okay, yeah. It's because it moves the data just like you saw, right? No longer use user one after creating user two because they were removed. We've given user two new string values for both email and username, and thus only use the active and sign-on count values from user one. Then user one would still be valid after creating user two. Both active and sign-in count are types that implement the copy trait. So the behavior we discussed in stack only data copy section would apply. We can also still use user one email as an example because its value was not moved to user one. Right. Like from my example, my struct field one is do equals do something moving my struct field one. Oh, for like an update or like a mutating function of some kind. Don't worry, Clippy will let you know. Me and Clippy are gonna have some fights, I think. If you come across needing it, it will come in handy. Otherwise, it's just there lurking in the shadows, waiting to be used. Okay. Different types with tuple structs. Okay. Structs that look similar to tuples called tuple structs. Added meaning the struct name provides don't have names associated with their fields. Okay. Give the whole tuple a name, tuple. Make the tuple a different type from other tuples. I don't know which one I prefer. When naming each field as in a regular struct would be verbose every time. Okay. Start with the struct keyword and the struct name, followed by the types in the tuple. Color and point. Okay, I see. Black and origin values are different because they're instances of different structs. Each structure defines its own type. Right. Fields within the struct may have the same types. Field that a function takes a parameter of type color cannot take a point. I mean, yeah, that makes sense, right? There are a different thing. Require you to name the type of the structure or a destructure then. Oh, okay. So z equals origin to destructure values in the origin point into variables named x, y, and z. Okay. Fun fact you probably won't need to know, you can also initialize this kind of struct with color 0, 1, 2. Oh, like an index? IPv4 is a good example where you might want a tuple struct. Point isn't a great example because you might be using a weird coordinate system and thinking in YXZ or something crazy. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Hey, Sad, how's it going? But like, I mean, if you're using a weird coordinate system, stop. Or color might be RGB or HSL2. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Sometimes the field name is important, is what you're saying. Anything other than XYZ is diabolical? Yes. But given Ash's background, I suspect he's had to deal with modeling, 3D modeling programs that use the Z-axis as up and down, and game engines that do not. I bet you is where he's coming from. He's probably had this exact experience. Point being, I see what you did there. Explicit field names are usually the way to go. Yeah, unless you can be really sure it's not ambiguous. Makes sense. You can also match structs like this in, for example, a match. If you have a result containing one, you could do something like this. Match foo. Okay, point, XYZ. Do a thing, error thing. Okay. I get it, kind of, I think. Okay. You also define structs that don't have any fields. Okay. Called unit-like structs. You're a unit-like struct. Because they behave similarly to the unit. The chungus. More complicated if you have an object struct that has a position. Okay, my object position point. Okay. I might have seen some crap like that out in the wild, yes. It's especially nice if you get a stream of coordinates into a shader with chords flipped, but also wrong order of points and triangles. Coordinate systems. I think Godot is weird in that, isn't it? Godot uses the Z as the like the depth as you're looking at the object. I could be mistaken, could be wrong. I've only done a little bit of playing with Godot. Okay. Unit-like structs. Yeah. Can be useful when you need to implement a trait on some type, but don't have any data that you want to store in the type itself. Okay. Okay. One common use of tuple-like structs is if you only have one field and wrap that to give it a different meaning on a type system level. Like struct Celsius flip 32. Give it a different meaning on a type system. Oh, okay, yeah. I see. Semicolon, yeah. Called the new type pattern. You'll be doing that a lot. Will I? Go has something pretty much identical to it to lean into strong typing for additional correctness. They also pretty much completely optimize away, so you have no runtime impact from wrapping something in a new type. I see. Are you talking about like the Go, like just the regular type? Like we could declare a type. Okay. I'm getting the it's too hot in here sleepies. And the coffee is helping with caffeine, but hurting with being warm. Although not to be abused. I mean, define abused. Basically, go type Celsius float. Yeah. Okay, so define. Yep. Uh-huh. You'll see in chapter 10. Okay. Ownership of struct data. Like one would prefer a function read sensor location returns a Celsius, with location being an enum of outside or inside over a function read sensor outside. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. In the user struct definition, we use the owned string type rather than the string slice type. It's a deliberate choice because we want each instance of this struct to own all of its data, but that data to be valid for as long as the entire struct is valid. It's also possible for structs to store references to data owned by something else, but to do so requires the use of lifetimes. Okay. We'll discuss it in chapter 10. So they ensure that the reference by a struct is valid for as long as the struct is. Let's say you try to store a reference in a struct without specifying lifetimes, like the following in source main RS. This won't work. Okay. Complaint needs lifetime specifiers. Okay. When I run Rust workshops for my company, I'll call string a fat string and string slice a thin string. Okay. I guess I can kind of see the logic. Good term to mention, rarely use borrow within structs. I mean, that makes sense, right? A struct should kind of be an atomic unit of a thing, usually, right? Only when you actually need them. Structs mostly contain own data. Yeah, that makes sense. Yo, I was just watching your playlist on Go. I love it. Cool. Appreciate that. Glad you enjoy it. Hopefully you are learning something. Own string and string slice would be the more correct terms, but yes, I mean, like, I get the you're trying to form connections, basically, right? That's something I talked about. I talk about it all the time, actually, just like implicitly. But I talked about it yesterday, where if you give somebody information and you're like, here's this thing, a string slice is a reference to a thing. Okay. Like, I don't know what to do with that, right? Unless I have the context around that, I don't understand the point of this information. You have just walked up and told me, hey, by the way, grass is green. Okay. But what is the utility of this information? I don't understand. Like, I assume because you went to the trouble to give it to me, that you have a point you're trying to make or some important information you're trying to give me, right? But I don't have anything to connect it to. I have no frame of reference. And this happens all the time in computer science. And I hate it so much. Because without those connections, the context around it and something to connect your understanding to this new information, it's just a useless data point that's going to get forgotten immediately, right? Let's see. Now, to be clear, it is possible to put references in structs, right? But it can get complex and hairy, right? So the common advice is to only do it if you really have to, right? It's like pointers to pointers, right? If you're in, I need a pointer to a pointer land, you might have fucked up. You might be doing the wrong thing because this is going to be complicated and hairy. Bugs will live here. You're going to have some trubs. Really think about what you're doing, right? But sometimes you do need them. I actually learned a lot on HTTP using Golang. I'm working on building my own API now with that. Cool. The point is, no, Marco, you monster. Are you going to make one for Rust too? I don't know. This is my first exploration of Rust in many years. I initially looked at it just a little bit. So I am not a Rustacean. Squirted, yep. Fair enough, but we learned about strings and string slices, so let's be technically correct after that. Well, I mean, you also need like mnemonic devices and things too, right? Unless you have an exceptionally good memory, you need to be able to like conceptualize these things and have like little memory ticks and tricks, right? The person who invents a way to slap people with the internet would be rich and famous. We have fun here. Okay. Example program using structs. This one is probably... Well, maybe. We'll see. The word slice in Rust is often associated with borrowed data. Good way to wrap your head around. Yeah, okay. I can kind of see that. I don't know if you need this, but let's quickly skim over it. Yeah. No, I was thinking like, do I want to create a project and have this to refer back to quickly or not? The answers might be no. We'll see. We'll see if it seems obvious or not. Like if they're just gonna give me like when I went back to here, because like in my brain there was a nice clear example, but I didn't find it when I reviewed it. So I probably assembled it in my head only, right? But like a clear, concise example like this is a great example to be able to refer back to things. And those are worth typing out, I think. In Rust, data is mostly borrowed, and very few variables actually own data. It sounds a little like communism. Should be pretty similar like in any other. Yeah. Well, I mean, yes and no, right? Like it's good for memory purposes to type things or write things yourself manually, right? That that's something that I've learned just over the years of learning how to learn. And you can see the opposite effect in the people that we all know we have met who are Stack Overflow coders, right? They copy paste from Stack Overflow until things work, and they don't understand anything at all, and they're not very good, and they don't remember anything either. Maybe it's just me because I grew up in a country which was in the last few months of switching out of communism, and I remember that basically no one owned anything. But I was told we will own nothing and be happy. They've now all turned into AI bros. You're right, they have. And Stack Overflow is like, oh no, we're dying. I'm like, well, yes, but also most people don't understand you. Like, okay, crazy story time, right? I've been using Stack Overflow for a long time. A long time. I have never posted a question, ever, because I've never needed to. Either the answer is there or I'm asking the wrong damn question. So the people that I know who have like, well, Stack Overflow was toxic. usually are the people who have posted, "How do I do my job?" type questions, right? That don't understand the question. And in the process of typing the question, didn't rubber duck themselves into a solution by accident. I've posted like 2. Yeah. Like the amount of questions you need to post on Stack Overflow are so very, very small. Do you know Clio on the Math Stack Exchange? No, I don't hang out in the Math Stack Exchange, but I think I've heard. Are you talking about one of those people that was like a math genius that just like showed up and answered questions and nobody could figure out who they were or why they were so good at math? I've heard of stories of this type of thing. You will own one thing at a time and be happy. Clippy. Basically, gotcha. Yeah, it was an alt account of someone else though. Yeah, yeah. Didn't they like eventually figure out who they were? They were just like some rando person who just really liked math. Something like that. Gotcha. Was it you? Are you Cleo? Is that where this story's going? Someone bring more coffee for the coffee guy. We're about to switch to not warm beverages. That's what we're about to do. So it's getting hotter in here. I think. I don't think there's. Well, maybe there's another window I could open. Just thinking about if a breeze kicks up, if I gotta go close things. They really like doing integrals and figuring random stuff out, but didn't get any attention, so they posted the questions themselves and answered as Cleo. Okay, yeah, okay. Kind of remembering that. No, I'm not Cleo. I wish. So you're new here, so you don't know that I have many times on stream exposed my almost severe ignorance of math. I am not a math guy. I don't like math, like for its own sake. And in school, actually, just it goes back to what I was just talking about. The math teacher's like, I got to algebra, and that was basically where I was like, fuck math. Because the teacher was like, okay, here's formulas and these are slopes and you got to plug them into these formulas endlessly in homework and crank out this shit. I'm like, but why? I don't understand why I care. Well, if you build a house someday, fuck off. Like, give me actionable things and like help me understand the math instead of teaching me how to be a shitty meat computer, right? And I didn't know that that was my problem at the time. I thought I'm just stupid. I honestly just thought I'm stupid, right? But I did pretty well in geometry because shapes make sense, and I had a better geometry teacher. But algebra is about as far as I got, and that's all I needed to do. Right? I was happy to be done with math. Then I took programming classes, and I immediately learned I don't know jack shit about math. Like I didn't understand at all what I was needing to do, right? um, and that made me hate it more because I was mad now. And like if I don't use a thing, I lose it really, really fast. So I have lost most of my algebra. The other day we were looking up actually, much to my dismay, the dismay of the small mongoose that still lives inside of me, who is still that high school kid. We were looking up the formula for finding the distance between 2 points on a diagonal on a graph. I only like math when I have a practical goal I need to use it for. Yeah, exactly. Like when I implemented stuff for a CNC controller and learning about linear algebra, but I didn't enjoy using it. Yep. That fuck? Which part? Let's see here. The problem with math is how it's taught. Yes, it's a truly great subject. I mean, it's important, right? I understand the importance of the subject as a whole. Somehow I bombed geometry and aced physics. See, I enjoyed. I didn't have a like I had one physics class in high school that was like half of a year, and then we did other stuff too. And I enjoyed that because that deals with um uh uh like concrete concepts and things that are you can figure out how this applies, right? It's useful to know the acceleration of a thing, probably, right? And also it was a cool class because we went and built rockets and launched them even on Rocket Day. Awesome, right? That's education, that's fun, and like you still understand things about it, you know? Whereas algebra, yeah, the diagonal part, what, that I didn't remember that formula? I had like 6 years of physics in high school or equivalent, and in the last 3 years of that 5 hours a week. Yeah, yeah, no. I had like one. I think my middle school science class did more physics. Like, but you know, there we're off into education is terrible territory again. But like, so, you know, that's kind of the origins. And it took me a long time to learn how to learn. And I've learned that for me, if I don't attach things like to a meaning, it goes away real fast. And I don't remember things that can be easily looked up very well. I just looked them up. Let's finish reading about Strux. No, y'all keep being entertaining. Okay. So, calculates the area of a rectangle. Okay, fine. Start by using single variables. That sounds awful. And then refactor the program until we're using structs instead. Yep, that makes more sense. New binary project, cargo called rectangles. I like the chatter as well. I just also like being somewhat productive. Well, normally we're really productive here. Normally. But normally I write languages that Marco and Ash don't enjoy. They're here for the vibe normally. But now they're very excited because almost from day one, they've been saying, well, you know, Rust fixes this because they are Rustaceans at their core. Dyed in the hair Rustaceans, if you will. Okay, so we've got a width and a height, and the area is width and height. Okay, multiplies them, returns a thing. So this consumes both of those and outputs that into that. Well, you should learn Rust diagramming. You know that's it's interesting to note that Rust has really made the past day super fun, not necessarily because of the Rust stuff, that's fine, mostly fine, but because everybody's very excited about it all of a sudden. Cult, I mean community, right? Technically, it copies them here since integers are simple scalars. Implement copy, but yes. Well, okay, so I wouldn't be able though. I would be able to use these afterwards, wouldn't I? Because the copy. So I could print width and height afterwards right here. Okay, gotcha. Good call out. Okay, square pixels. Who the hell measures rectangles in square pixels? Anything to not use the metric system. Yep, it does succeed, but in a terrible, awful way. Area function is supposed to calculate the height of one rectangle. Road has 2 parameters. I mean, yeah, that's fine. It's just silly. More readable, more manageable to group width and height together. Yep. And we know a tuple type. Yep. So we got a rect. Wrecked him. Damn near killed him. And then, yeah, we do the same thing. Dimensions 0, dimensions 1, multiply those, return U32. In one way, this program's better. Tuples add a bit of structure. We're now passing just in one argument. Another way, this version is less clear, right? Tuples don't name their elements, so we have to index into the parts of the tuple, making our calculation less obvious. Yep. Makes sense. Yep. Especially if your values themselves are like U32 and you're on a 64-bit system, a pointer would be wider than the value itself. So it would not make sense from a copying speed perspective to use pointers. Okay. I guess I'm confused as to where that attaches to. Okay, mixing up width and height wouldn't matter for the area calculation, yeah, but if you want to draw it on the screen, it would matter, right? Makes sense. Exactly what Ash was saying earlier. Don't worry about it. I assume that there was a point you were trying to make, but I don't understand where it attaches to. Like, it seems silly to me to pointer an int, just like at a surface level. I've written code before. Okay. You'll get a hang of it. In Rust, you can hover over structures to see their size. You'll start to build intuition. You'll start to build intuition. Refactoring structs. Yeah, okay. Use structs to add meaning by labeling the data. Transform the tuple we're using into a struct with a name for the whole, as well as names of the parts. Right, yes. Width and height. This makes much, much nicer things happen. Makes sense. And here, they do pass a reference, and that makes a degree of sense as well. Because it's a bigger thing. I don't know about like the semantics of dealing with return values in Rust, but in Go, dealing with pointers is often a nice thing because you can nil check them. My point is that for simple scalar values, they're cheaper to copy themselves than to copy around pointers to them, so it wouldn't make sense to do that. It's one reason why it's intuitive that U32 is copied when you pass in the function. Okay, I see. Kind of. References can never be null. Right. Good point. Not in Rust. Inside the curly brackets or squirrely braces, as they are correctly called, we define the fields as width and height, U32. Yep, one parameter which is named rectangle whose type is an immutable borrow of a struct rectangle. Right. As mentioned in chapter 4, we want to borrow the struct rather than taking ownership of it. This way, main retains its ownership and we can continue. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's... Otherwise, we would basically consume that. In here, it would go out of scope and get thrown away, and then our rectangle is gone forever. Okay. Area function assesses the width and height field to the rectangle instance. Yep. Accessing fields of a borrowed struct instance does not move the field values. Okay. Good to know. Which is why you often see borrows of structs. Our function signature for an area now says that exactly what we mean. Calculate it width and height fields. Yep. Win for clarity. Yes. Strunk agree. Adding functionality with derived traits. It's useful to be able to print an instance of rectangle while we're debugging our program. Okay. See the values for all its fields. Makes sense. We try using printline macros we used in previous chapters. That won't work. Okay. Rectangle doesn't implement display. Interesting. So there's no default handling for a print of a thing. Is what you're saying. Oh yeah, we get to derive. Hell yeah. What other kind of is buried on? Printline macro can do many kinds of formatting, and by default, the squirrely brackets tell printline to use formatting known as display. Okay. Output intended for direct end user consumption. Consume. The primitive types we've seen so far is on display. By default, because there's only one way you'd want to show a 1 or any other primitive type to a user. Okay. With structs, the way printline should format the output is less clear because there are more display possibilities. Do you want commas or not? Do you want to print squirrely brackets? Should all the fields be shown? Due to this ambiguity, Rust doesn't try to guess what we want. The structs don't have a provided implementation to display to use a print line, and the squirrely brace is placeholder. Okay. Can I be formatted with the default formatter? Putting the specifier colon X question mark inside the curly braces tells print line you want to use an output format called debug. Debug trait enables the printer code a struct in a way that's useful for developers so that we can see its value when we're debugging our code. Aha. Okay. Rat, we still get an error. Does include functionality to print out debugging information, but we have to explicitly opt in to make that functionality available for our struct. Okay. Add the outer attribute derive debug. That's weird. Hey Kyle, how's it going? You're almost like saying that the struct has a header file in a way. All this basically does is generates code to implement the trait automatically for you. It's even worse. It's a macro. That's the best thing since sliced bread. You'll love it. I mean, maybe. Are you allowed to stack them up? Takes away so much boilerplate. Yeah, I can see that. Yes, it is a macro. So, like, could you put like derive, I don't know, foo or whatever? Yes. Okay, gotcha. Now I run the program, won't get any errors. We'll see the following output, right? Okay. Derive A, B, C. Oh, so you can just actually paren them. That's even nicer, actually. Well, I guess I can see both ways being useful. Yes, and they have attributes too. You can customize their behavior. I see. It's not the prettiest output, but it shows the values of all the fields for this instance. Rectangle width height. I mean, that's perfectly pretty to my eyes. Let's see here. Definitely help during debugging. When we have larger structs, it's useful to have an output that's a bit easier to read. Yeah. A pound question mark instead of a colon question mark in the print line, which would output this. Okay, I mean, that's fine. It's a prettier. I'm down with the prettier. Use the debug macro. Takes ownership of an expression as opposed to printline, which takes a reference. Prints the file and line number of where that debug macro call occurs in your code, along with the resultant value of that expression, returns the ownership of the value. Debug prints to standard error as opposed to standard out. Right. Makes sense. All they do is implement those traits for you. You can actually implement them manually. That's from the debug trait. Gotcha. Okay. Here's an example where we're interested in the value that gets assigned to the width field as well as the value of the whole struct in rect1. There's also eprint and eprintl, which print to standard error instead. Gotcha, because error print. Makes sense. And then they debug print 30 times the scale. Okay. Because debug returns ownership of the expression's value, the width field will get the same value as if we didn't have the debug. Okay. Call there, didn't have the debug call there. We don't want debug to take ownership of rect1, so we use a reference to rect1 in the next call. So this one spits out this line. Okay. I guess, sure, why not? And then, they debug the whole thing later. Okay. Line 10, we're debugging. Resultant value 60. Debug formatting implemented for introduces only print their value. Okay. And then on 14, we output the whole value. Okay. Rust has provided a number of traits for us to use with the derive attribute that can add useful behavior to our custom types. Those traits and their behaviors are listed in Appendix C. Okay. Chapter 10 is where more of that lives. Many attributes. Okay. Our area function is very specific, only computes the area of rectangles. Be helpful to tie this behavior more closely to a rectangle struct. Yes. Because it won't work with any other type. Let's look at how we can continue to refactor this code by turning the area function into an area method defined on our rank. Okay, so they follow the same convention as Go does, where a function that is attached to a struct is called a method. Specifically, if you are being precise. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half. I'm actually going to stretch my butt because yesterday, when I got out of my chair after sitting on my butt for 10 hours, give or take, like everything hurt. So I'm going to try to do more stretching today, like get up and stretch out. And I'm going to fetch a beverage as well. So I'll be right back. I also suggest you get up and stretch out. It's good for you. Your body will thank you. I'll be right back. Okay, I have also deployed additional windows. So hopefully we'll get squared away. A little bit more airflow. I think I can already feel it being a little better. It's going to be a really warm week. I was so excited that the noise canceling was working and I could sit here in AC and actually like enjoy the 4-hour stream. And then it breaks the first time I use it. That's just my life lately. That's how it be. Group yoga session. I mean, I guess it's hot enough in here, but there's not enough goats for yoga. I think you need those nowadays. I had a whole cake in my freezer. I wanted to thaw it earlier today, but I won't be able to eat it on my own completely, so I cut it in half while it was still frozen. It wasn't that easy. True. The life hack around this is to just buy the superior kind of cake, the ice cream cake. And then your frozen cake cuts nicely and it stays in the freezer. And it's just a superior cake experience while consuming. There's literally no downside. And a stretch. Redeem. I guess we can stretch again, like I just did. But we can do another. It actually does feel really good. That was a good call. Let's see. Well, it's more of an apple pie. Okay, well, ice cream cake versus apple pie. It's a really hard call because those are both banger desserts. I think the life hack is more to buy a bandsaw for the kitchen. I mean, I guess. I don't know about bandsaws. Bandsaws are kind of terrifying. There's this. So normally, I actually watch a lot of like building stuff, YouTube. If like when I eat a meal, I usually watch YouTube, right? So some like the building guys come up a lot. And I'm totally okay with that content. I enjoy that. There's this guy, Todd Cutler. He does like he makes like medieval armor and swords and bows and stuff, like, but also he's really into history. And they did like this huge series on arrows versus armor, is what it's called, where they like literally took like people whose jam is medieval archery and shot recreation arrows at recreation armor, right? Just to see like what actually happens. Because everybody's like arguing about it. Just do it, see what happens. Turns out they're both really good. They're kind of like, you know, on a similar level. um but whenever he shows himself making stuff, like his fingers are right next to that blade because he's just an old dude and they don't give a fuck. And it always just makes me a little nervous. I don't. Humans are gross inside. That's why I work on computers, right? I don't want to see blood and fingertips. Ugh. Ugh. Hi to you as well. Less terrifying than table saws, though. Yes and no. Table saws are also terrifying, but they have what's called a stop saw now. And the guys that made it, like, made the patent open. They said everybody should be making this and using this, to where if there's a electrical contact, like they show usually with a hot dog, if it makes electrical contact with the blade, meat is enough to do, right? It launches a aluminum block into the saw blade and stops it before it cuts your fingers off. Like it'll give you a little nick and that's it. If it has some raisins. Well, it could be worse, I guess. That's true. Raisins are all right. I know that, but I'm not that worried about that. I'm more worried about kickback with table saws. I mean, it's still, I mean, it's a dangerous tool. I'm less worried about that though. I haven't like used them a lot in a long time. And back in my day, we didn't have no stop saws. You had some old dude that said, "This is why you respect the saw." Humans call it ER, robots call it dependency rejection. Depends a lot on what material you're cutting, I guess. Yes, I've only used table saws for wood. No frozen cakes in the table saw for me. All right, let's learn about some methods, I suppose. Similar to functions, declare them with function. Yep. Have parameters and a return value. It contains some code that's run when the method is called from somewhere else, right? Yes. Unlike functions, methods are defined within the context of a struct. Okay, yeah. Okay, interesting. Or an enum or a trait object. Okay. 6 and 18 respectively. And their first parameter is always self. Okay. So they almost, okay. So instead of just going anywhere in the package, you got to put them inside of the struct. And they almost, like in formatting sense, look like. No, you don't. Hang on. What? Defined within the context of a struct. But this is not within. They must be using context in a different way here. Let's see here. With whole lumber, you're more worried about kickback than with like plywood. Okay, yeah. Because plywood doesn't have that many internal stresses. Well, isn't it that it's like stressed evenly? That's why it doesn't like warp as much. I could be mistaken. You could technically put them anywhere in the package. Okay. Better term is associating with the struct there, maybe. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So the context that they're saying here is probably like within the same, or yeah, anywhere within the package. Yeah. So it does work pretty much like Go in that respect, layout wise. I was thinking they were saying to put them inside of here, kind of like Dart does. But then I saw this and was like, that's not what they're saying. Needs to be in an impl block. Yeah. I did notice that. We call those impl blocks, inherent impl blocks. You can put them anywhere, actually. And because the privacy boundary in Rust is the module, you can do some funky stuff. Okay, yeah. Very much like Go. You can have multiple inherent blocks for the same struct. Well, where did inherent come from? Are you saying you can put multiple methods on a struct? Because that just like seems normal. Let's change the area function as a rectangle instance as a parameter. Instead, make an area method defined on the rectangle struct, like shown here. Impl area shabam. We call rect1's area. To define the function within the context of a rectangle, we start an impl block. Okay, yep. Everything associated with the rectangle type. Okay, move the area function in there. Cool. First, in this case, only parameter to be self. That is a good call out there. We need a reference to self specifically here. Inherent because the impl block is on a struct directly rather than implementing a straight, implementing a trait for the struct. Okay, well, we haven't got the traits yet, so I don't understand the differentiation being made. You can have multiple impl MyStruct blocks across your crate, but there's also trait inputs. Okay. Well, we'll have to get the traits before I understand what you're talking about. Because right now, the distinction is lost upon me. To find the function within the context of a rectangle, yeah, we did that. In fact, I even said a rectangle the same way. You can implement the struct under various context, i.e. player type. Player U8 and player U16 can both have impls. Each of those methods are activated based on the type. So it is kind of like C#'s polymorphic functions, methods, whatever they call that thing. Where in C# you can have like You could make just an area function, and it takes a rectangle, and you could make another area function that takes a triangle, and it would figure out which one to actually use. And then everybody hates you because you've done a stupid thing and it's hard to understand your code. Kind of like how in C# everything in the world is a fucking interface, but it just means that it's in some other project file in this 3000 project file project, and you have to go ask somebody what the hell is even going on. I might have C# a little bit. I might have been a little salty. Kind of, yep, okay. Yeah, that, but on steroids. You would say that. I promise it gets good. Oop, I closed the wrong thing. I was gonna pull up. This is terrible. Why can't I? Why is the internet so bad now? It used to be so good. Now it sucks. There we go. Literally this chat. Literally. Let's see here. The first way to do it would be then be to declare an area trait read interface and implement that. Okay. Today I learned raisins are more tasty when they are frozen, become a bit mushy. Okay. Don't they normally become a bit mushy like when they're cooked into a cake of some kind? I don't know. Like, I like raisins, but I also am generally anti putting healthy things inside of my glorious sugar. I know people that, put like walnuts and crap in brownies. Stop it. Stop ruining my brownies. I knew somebody once who put like shredded coconut in brownies. And like, why? Why do you want to eat a thing whose texture resembles sawdust? You don't like bean brownies? I've never had a bean brownie. But like, if it does what it says on the tin, I'm slightly horrified. Okay. Blended black beans in it? I don't know, actually. Like, I can see what you're going for there. You're going for more of a cakey brownie, right? I guess it would depend on how well the bean flavor was chocolated up. Because like, I know that like Japan, for example, does a ton of like sweet bean desserts, right? And they're delicious. In general, I'm a fan of the humble legume. Red bean cake, yeah, exactly. So like, I could actually see that. You may get a pass on that. Where was I just started thinking about thoughts about like basically you could make those and call them like protein brownies. They would actually be reasonably good for you. You get protein, you get fiber, you get a lot of sugar, Yeah, but I think that was the idea originally. Could be, yeah. It would make sense. Back after 2 weeks. Well, welcome back. Let's see, 2 weeks. So I'm also really bad at names, but I believe you were in university and you had finals coming up, correct? How did they go? Is that why you've been gone? Or were you doing something more fun? Am I completely wrong? To define the function, yep. Okay, we do the impl. Yeah, we get through there. And specifically, we called out that it's a reference to self here. Or at least I called out. Yeah, they did. Um, uh, self instead of rectangle, rectangle. And the reference to self is actually short for self is reference to self. Okay. Within an impl block, the type self is an alias for the type that the impl block is for. Okay. Methods must have a parameter named self or type self for their first parameter. So Rust lets you abbreviate this with only the name self. Okay. I guess that seems reasonable. Note that we still need to use the ampersand in front of self shorthand to indicate this method borrows the self instance. Just as we did in rectangle, borrows rectangle. Methods can take ownership of self, borrow self immutably, as we've done here, or borrow self mutably just as they can in any other parameter. Okay. So they work just like functions, except for they get attached. We choose self here for the same reason, reference to self rather. Nah, they're still coming. They're in the mid of June, and your streams will pop up on my feed. Oh, okay, I see. Well, if Discord is your jam, I do have a Discord. Link should be down below, and there's a notification that goes out when I stream. I don't know. Like YouTube is kind of a crapshoot when it comes to notification stuff. But there's like multiple levels of notification. So if you are following me, there's a little bell icon, and if you click on it, there's like multiple different levels of notification that you can choose from. I don't know if it works super well or not, but I know it exists. I don't actually follow a lot of people that do live on YouTube. Okay, we choose to borrow self here for the same reason we chose to borrow self there, or borrow rectangle. That was enough cake for me today, but is it? Is it truly? There could be more cake. You could have a cake day and get caked up. I actually did join the server, but I usually keep all server on mute. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So you can certainly also just mute general if you don't want to chat in general, and mute the Twitch notification and keep just one of them. That's also a thing you can do. And if you don't want to, that's totally fine too. I'm just saying that, like, just trying to give you some ideas if you wish to investigate them. I know that everybody's time is, precious, and there's a lot of things to watch. And I'm always grateful when people come to hang out with me, do whatever crazy nonsense I'm up to doing today. Understood? Yeah, absolutely. And if not, I mean, there's maybe another solution you can find out, figure out, or just decide to not worry about it because there's too many things to worry about in life already. Totally understand. Anyway, we don't want to take ownership. We just want to read the data in the struct, not write to it. Makes sense, right? It's okay. It's nearly 1 a.m. and I have no one else to chat to. I had to make sure that that wasn't going to be something crazy and horrible that I had to deal with. But I'm telling you, man, I'm 12 years of experience, senior at Bigish Tech Org. And man, I am depressed about this AI jazz talk. Yeah. I don't know what to work on anymore, even why to bother. Show us some cool stuff to pick us up. Okay. Well, I don't talk about AI anymore. Basically, because I'm just tired. I'm done. That's all anything anybody has wanted to talk about for years, and I'm done. Do what your heart tells you to do, right? That's what I can say. If you feel joy in building things and in knowing things and in learning things, then continue to do that. Thor always says to always bet on yourself, and I like that sentiment too, right? Like, there's no downside to learning more things. There's no downside to building another thing, learning, gaining experience, right? And like nothing else really matters, no matter what happens in the world, learning things will serve you better, and there's always a path forward. So like me, right? I'm out of work right now. I had a temporary job that wasn't even paying all of my bills, and it sucked, and I hated it, and I hated the people I worked with, so I quit. I decided to bet on myself, and I have some projects going. But I don't know if they'll pay off. I don't. It's a lot of uncertainty, right? And I may just have to go get a real job again, doing something. It probably won't be coding because that market's dead right now, right? But I'm sure that I can figure it out. And I don't think that anything I'm doing here is going to be in any way a waste. That's what I can say. I thought that'd be going in a very different direction. Yeah, I was worried for a second there too. That's why I had to stop and make sure I read it all to make sure we're good. But yeah, no, I appreciate you being here and hanging out, and I hope that this is a positive place for you, and that you can get some encouragement. By the way, I'm in 11th grade, not university. We'll call it college here. Don't know about your place. Well, I don't. Grade is a loaded term, right? As well. Because grades are different here. So we have like elementary school is little kids, and then middle school is like young teenagers, and then goes through the high school, and you usually graduate at like 17, 18 years old, give or take, somewhere around there. And though like high school would be 12th, 11th, 10th, and 9th grade. Wait, I think I don't even remember anymore. I believe so. Anyway, that sounds about right. So like, and then we do college is what we call it after that. That's, other stuff. That's degrees. But like finals are always stressful. I remember my first finals, I was freaking out. Let's see here. I kind of have the issue that I kind of want to study all of computer science, electrical engineering, chemical engineering, and semiconductor design at uni, but I can only restrict myself to CS for now. Yeah, it makes sense. Like, you got to focus your time too, But like, the internet is out there, and there's so much free stuff to learn, right? Like, and you always find, okay, so I don't know if I've told this, I'm sure I've told this story before. I don't know if you've been here for this story, but like, I once upon a time thought I wanted to do like sysadmin and DevOps things, and I spent a lot of time learning it. A ton of time. What I learned at the end of doing the learning to be able to do that job is that I didn't want to do that all day. Right? But it wasn't a waste, because now when I want to stand up a server, I don't have to go pay Vercel or whoever is the go-to these days to host my crap. I can go buy a really cheap VPS for like $5 a month and chuck some binaries on it and be done. I have all those skills. I can build a CI/CD pipeline that deploys my crap from my self-hosted Gitforge, ForgeGel, to that thing and not worry about it. That's how my blog is deployed. Like, I push I merge an article, and it goes up, and it restarts everything, and it's happy, right? So like, super useful. And I've been paid to untangle systems. Most of my DevOps work that I've been paid for was because the DevOps team said, I don't know. And I said, give me a login and go away. So like still useful. Now you got to be careful because as soon as you touch a thing, you own it forever at companies, but it's a thing in your back pocket. Sorry guys, nothing too awful. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I just had to be careful. Thanks for talking to my PC. Yeah, absolutely. School systems can be very different all around the world. Absolutely. I'm always the guy for DevOps at my job, even though I don't want to be. Yes. You got to be careful of the trap. Use your tools wisely. Mongoose current job is getting beaten up by Clippy. Well, you're a Clippy icon there, Marco. So what is that trying to say? What's the reason of learning Rust? Curiosity, learning, self-improvement, learning a thing that's becoming more relevant in the world. People are caring more about it in jobs that aren't crypto. Future opportunities perhaps. And also because I've been noticing that, Go is great. Love Go. Super happy with Go. Tends to be used and the ecosystem tends to support command line applications and DevOpsy things, ironically, since we were just talking about, which is fine and well and good. Things like Caddy, Restic, love them. Amazing tools. The IRC server I run is written in Go. It works great. I love it. Super easy to deploy. Fantastic. Very happy with all of this stuff, right? But it's all like web appy, DevOpsy, backendy stuff, which is fine. It's kind of where I live, right? Rust being the thing it is, I'm seeing it being moved more towards a desktop ecosystem, right? Cosmic, Pop! OS's new window desktop environment, window manager thing, is all in Rust. All of the widgets for it are in Rust. Things like my IRC client that I've been using, Halloy, this is written in Rust, right? So that ecosystem is really leaning in that direction, which is super awesome. And it's great, right? Like new things that are cross-platform, love it, right? So it's just another tool in the tool belt. And if I investigate Rust and see if I like it, then maybe I'll write something that's a desktop application that is, desktop focused, hopefully. Because things like Flutter and React and whatever else, you can do Electron stuff. That's all web first. Flutter is mobile first, and they really show it a lot. So there's weird, sharp corners you run into. And so I'm just investigating the options basically and learning things. And, even if I decide, Rust isn't for me, I will have learned things. I will have some familiarity with it that I can lean on in the future. Let's see here. I'm kind of designing my own 800-volt FOC motor controller right now. Awesome. I know some of those words. That is a lot of electrical engineering and RF engineering, and also kind of computer science through programming FPGAs. Yes. Rust is really great for CLIs too. Yeah, so I've played a little bit with Bubble Tea. I didn't love it. I didn't love the experience. I know there's things like Ratatouille, I think is the Rust one, right? I know they exist. And that's fine too. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy a Tui as much as, or possibly more than the next guy. But Tuis have a very specific audience, right? It's just a different way, different tool in the pouch, really. Let's see here. Does this count as domestic violence? Maybe. The motor controller is basically the active components used for controlling an EV's motor in a car. Gotcha. That makes sense, right? Like, they're all electric motors, and if you run them backwards, they're generators. So you probably know some things about that now too, right? Broadly applicable skills are rad. Let's see here. Rust, I've heard, pretty OP yet very difficult. I mean, we'll see. Can't you show all the chats on screen? So there may or may not be Twitch TOS issues with that. We were talking about that yesterday. But also, if somebody was to swing in here and say something terrible and I was to delete the message, it would remove it from the live chat. It would remove it from the live chat replay, but it would still be on the video. And I don't want that, because then I'd have to go cut it out of the video. so that I don't have, some horrible thing coming up on my screen. Okay, where were we? With the same power requirements as would be used in EV since it's designed for 800 volts. Gotcha. I don't know what I'll use it for. I mean, it's knowledge that you are engaged to gain, right? Whatever the reason, the motivation, doing things that you're interested in and kind of following your heart like that, I have always found valuable. Like eventually, at some point, some future sight you got. So that's just what happens when you get old and you've been on the internet for a long time. And it's happened before where we've had like just really unhinged stuff come up in chat and I'm like, whoa, bro, no, out of here now. Especially like as a small streamer, right? You get a lot of people that come in and they want to put their horribleness or just like attention seek in weird, really creepy ways. Because they can't get attention in a big streams chat because it goes too fast and people get moderated out, right? I am also kind of interested in going more into the RF space and designing an AESA. I don't know what that is. Phased array radar. I mean, that sounds like something you should really consult legal counsel about. I don't know about Germany, but in the US, there's a lot of really strict regulations about causing interference and things. So be careful. I'm not a lawyer. Please talk to one. I know about those. Don't worry. Gotcha. Just got to check. Because sometimes, like, there was this video that was shared like on Twitter or something of some kid playing with some code he had downloaded to make a Bluetooth jammer or something, and somebody in the comments was like, "That's a really great way to get the FCC to come knock on your door." And I was like, "Yeah, that does make sense." Okay. It's the same kind of radar used on an F-35. Obviously not used for the same performance as on an F-35, though, right? All right. So we got through this part. All right, we don't want to take ownership, want to read the data, not write to it. We wanted to change the instance that we've called. Yeah, we'd use mutable as the first parameter. Having it take ownership using just self as the first parameter is rare. Okay. This technique is usually used when the method transforms self into something else and you want to prevent the caller from using the original instance after the transformation. Okay, I guess, yeah, that makes sense. I am very strict about adhering to all legal requirements, so don't worry about that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I do get that vibe that you have your stuff buttoned up, but there's also other ears listening too, so I always try to encourage people to use their powers for good. Sometimes people come in here like, you ever mess around with hacking and reverse engineering? And I'm like, nah, dude, I chose a long time ago that I wanted to use my powers for good and build things and not break them. And I realized that you can use those same skills in a beneficial way. Absolutely. But I just decided to be a builder. Accidentally Googled how to fix a pigeon. I'm now a fugitive. I do reverse engineering right now, right? Okay, so in this case, you would have to you'd have to reassign if you did take ownership of this thing. you'd have to reassign right here, right? You have to let rect1 equals rect1.area. Basically. And that's where y'all keep saying, like, in Rust, shadowing is a thing a lot. I'm trying to write custom software for a cheap Chinese solar inverter so that it doesn't talk to Alibaba to get the data into my Home Assistant. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. Are you familiar with Ben Jordan on YouTube? You might enjoy his content a lot. You probably are. But he's recently been playing with I think the last one he did was like the dog robots. Turns out they're sending data places. Little sketchy. He recently played with like cameras and things. Like the Home Assistant cameras or whatever. Think I've seen that face before. Yeah, yeah. Let's actually. Pretty sure that's the name of the channel. Da 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 da. Yeah, just Ben Jordan. He's on the tubes of the U's. Let's see here. If the method takes ownership of the self and doesn't return it back, it's gone. So if it's pure, you could take self and return self back. Right. Been making, I won't say developing, I think you can guess, a chess analyzer. Working on it for 1 month. At this point, slowly adding more features. I believe it's getting somewhere now. Cool. It's a useful pattern to be able to terminate an item, i.e. disconnect self. The item can no longer be used. Okay. Um, Okay. Main reason for using methods instead of functions, in addition to providing method syntax and allowing to repeat the type of self in every method signatures for organization. Repeat the type of self. Okay. To as an argument, I guess they're saying. We put all the things we can do with an instance of a type in one impl block rather than making future users of our code search. Yeah. Choose to give a method the same name as one of the struct's fields. We can define a method on rectangle that's also named width. Huh. Okay. Almost like a override or like a getter. Here we're choosing to make the width method return true if the value in the instance width field is greater than 0 and false. If value is 0. You use a field within a method the same name for any purpose. In main, we follow rect1 width with parens. Rust knows we mean the method width. When we don't use parens, we knows we mean the field. Okay. Weird. Often, but not always, when we give a method the same name as a field, we want it to only return the value in the field, do nothing else. Okay. Yeah, methods like this are called getters. Rust does not implement them automatically for struct fields as some other languages do. Getters are useful because you make the field private, but the method public. Thus enable read-only access to the field. Okay, so they haven't talked about how to make things public or private yet, have they? Or have I missed it? Or are they about to? If the field is a function pointer, you'd usually call it with mystruct.field1. Okay. um, what's the arrow operator? Okay. Use dot if you're calling a method on the object directly, and the arrow if you're calling the method on a pointer to the object. Did I miss something here? Everything is private by default. They'll get to the pub keyword soon. Okay. Oh, where's the arrow operator? Okay, I see. Method on object directly, and this if you're calling a method on a pointer, I need to dereference first. Okay, right. Rust doesn't have an equivalent. Automatic referencing and dereferencing calling methods is one of the few places in Rust with this behavior. When you call a method with object dot something, the function call, Rust automatically adds in the reference and reference mute or a dereference so that object matches the signature of the method. In other words, the following are the same: p1 dot distance of a reference to p2 and a reference to p1 dot distance to a reference of p2. Okay. Okay, that's weird. You missed the in C and C++. Right. No, I missed the. I read this as what's the arrow operator, and I got confused because I thought that was this is how you say this returns, and then I was like, well, it's right there, so why are we talking about this now? But then I realized that they were talking about a different thing entirely. Let's see. Methods with more params. If that behavior is too implicit, there's inlay hints that show exactly the transformations and coercion. Okay. Like I'm puzzled as to why the distinction really matters, but I'm sure it'll become clear later. Okay. Using methods by implementing a second method on the rectangle struct. This time we want an instance of rectangle to take another instance and return true if the second rectangle can fit completely within itself. Okay. Otherwise, it should return false. Is once we define the can-hold method, we want to be able to write the program. Okay, so we've got three rectangles, and we want to do can-holds on them. All right, fine. Makes sense. Bop, 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 bop. Smaller, yep. Wider, yep. Okay. Oh, rect one, hold 3. Yeah, wider. It's just that you don't have to explicitly insert a reference if you want to call a method that takes a reference as self, and you only have an own value. Rust automatically does it for you. Method that takes a reference as self. Only have an own value. Don't worry about it too much because it's intuitive when you use it. Okay. We don't want to define a method, so it'll be in an impl block. Yep. Method name can hold. Yep. Immutable borrow another rectangle. Yep. Tell what the type of the parameter will be by looking at the code that calls the method. What? This I don't understand this statement at all. Like, are you talking about translating pseudocode here? I don't know. Get the crap out of here. They've gone about this in a strangely backwards way. Makes sense because we only need to read rect2 rather than write, right? Which is why it's immutable. That makes sense. Um, right. Maintains ownership. Turn value of can hold will be a bool. Okay, yeah. Station will check whether the width and height of the self. Yeah. Okay. It's worded a bit weirdly. Yeah. Like this whole fucking tangent right here is just weird. Like we've gone back to baby's first language all of a sudden out of nowhere. Where they're like almost trying to tell you how to translate pseudocode to code or something. Anyway, so can hold, reference to self, reference to other. It's a rectangle. It returns a bool. And this is an implicit return. Width greater than other widths, height greater than other height. Okay, pretty basic. One quick note, it would also be very idiomatic there to write function can't hold. With reference to self, other is a reference to self bool instead. I assume that a reference to self with a capital S means a reference to my type. Like, just through magic. Is what you're saying? Big self just refers to the current type in the... Yeah, okay. We're in this code with the main function. Yeah, we'll get ours that up. Okay. Like, so... Okay, this does run the whole thing. This is weird. I don't like this. Because this runs, which means that the rest of the code is in here. But it's not showing it. But it runs it. Like, this is just a really weird way to display this info. If I was new, I'd be really, really confused by why this works. um, self the type, self the instance. Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Do I think cybersecurity is fun? No, not at all. Um, cybersecurity gives me deep, deep anxiety. Because as soon as you know anything about cybersecurity, you learn that the entire world is on fire. Like, and you realize how insecure everything is, like in the world. It's a little better nowadays, but like before Let's Encrypt, like everything was just HTTP, unless you paid a ton of money for a cert. And things are still not great. Like Docker. Docker running rootless is a new thing, right? Like originally, Docker just has all this permission, and I guess it's fine. It was the sort of mentality or the attitude. We're still fighting the everything inside the network is just safe and trusted forever mindset, which is so not true. So not true. Like, look, okay, let's just talk recent events here. NPM was just completely compromised, like 1,000 fucking packages are malware now. And because for the longest time, everybody's just been npm install leftpad, you know, and every import brings in 100,000 dependencies. You know, they tried with XZ utils, right? Like supply chain attacks are huge now. And as soon as you understand what a supply chain attack means, suddenly you're like, oh, well, shit, everything is like that. Pip is full of malware. You know, yeah, we were just talking about Ben Jordan discovering that the dog robots you can buy send a bunch of data to crazy places. Like, yeah. So, once upon a time, um, I had to talk to somebody whose title was very, very like director type, or they were like the head of the security department at a very, very large place that has legitimate reason to have a lot of your important personally identified information and financial information as well. I want to be careful about, what I say. This person was in charge of a project to rotate SSH keys in their environment to ensure that no old keys using insecure algorithms were still in place. I read that as an insurance company. Close enough. Good enough. So they were in charge of this project, and it's a large environment. They're a very large organization, right? One of the errors returned referenced an SSHD config. One of his little minions pulled it up on the call, and this guy in charge of the project said, okay, what am I looking at here? Government? No, not government. Yeah, so SSHD config, what am I looking at here? Head of the department, head of the project. It's terrifying how incompetent these people are. There's a reasonably good chance that if you live in the United States, I may have spoken with somebody in the security department at a company that has important data on you. And there's a reasonably good chance that I thought they were an idiot. There's a reasonably good chance that I had to explain TLS certificates at a basic level to them. So, like, I've worked adjacent to the field in the constructive side of things, trying to help with these problems. Or Amazon? No, I've never worked for Fang. I never want to work for Fang. I'm not a Fang guy. Ain't no see no no government stuff. I don't have. You would need security clearances to work with those usually, and I don't have or want those things. That process also gives me the creeps a little bit. Like it'd be like having somebody read your diary, Like there's nothing in there. It's just creepy in a weird way. Like I get skeezed out by people saying, "Oh, we're gonna run a background check on you to do the hiring process." Like it gives me the creeps. There's nothing in there. It's just creepy. Cousin of mine is doing cybersecurity major. He says it's good. Yeah, I mean, like it might be for you. It might be for him. That's all fine. I'm glad there's people that that is for. It's just stressful and creepy and full of, oh my god, everything is a disaster. Like literally. Okay, if you were to honestly ask me, is my money safer in a bank than under my mattress? My honest answer is that it's safer in a bank, but only because it's federally insured there. That's the reason. Like my bank, I can't have a too long password. The character limit is lower than I would normally use for a password to access my bank. It's probably sufficient enough, but it's my bank, and I worry about that kind of thing, right? Mongoose for president. Maybe he'll fix the internet. I mean, I don't know that I want that job. My bank recently added two-factor using hardware tokens. I don't think mine can do that. Perhaps your banks are better. I would not be surprised, really. A number of years ago, I lived in a state where you had to get emission testing done on your car. And before you could renew a registration. And I was like shocked in a positive way that I didn't have to carry paperwork with me to go do that, because when they do the inspection, they submit that digitally and then you can just renew online. I was like, oh, thank God. We figured out the most basic of operations here. Okay, anyway. Where was I? I think this is... Yeah, we're good. Okay. We're going to finish this section, and then we're going to switch to writing some code. That's where I think we're going to be at. And we'll stretch at that point as well. You were at associated functions. I was indeed. All functions defined within an impl block called associated function. Okay, because they're associated with the type named after the impl. Okay. You define associated functions that don't have self as the first parameter and thus are not methods, because they don't need an instance of the type to work with. Okay. We already used one function like this, the string from function that's defined on the string type. Associated functions that aren't methods are often used for constructors that will return a new instance of the struct. Okay. So they're often called new, but new isn't a special name, isn't built into the language. We could choose to provide an associated function named square that would have one dimension parameter and use that as both width and height, thus making it easier to create a square rectangle rather than having to specify the same value twice. Okay, I see. I recommend at least reading the trait section. No. We'll continue reading the Rust book. It'll just be like tomorrow. We're gonna switch to doing some stuff. Because like I said, I've got this other branch that's, quickly losing context just by nature of being something I haven't touched in like a week and change now. And I want to get it finished up. And then we can put that project aside if we need to, which we probably do. We need to work on some other stuff. But I want to get it. Go code? No, it'll be Dart Flutter code for this so that we can get it finished up. The convention is to use from this, from that, new. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Kind of. Okay. Use for constructors, yeah. So there's a square, takes a U32, sets it to both. They wind up getting copied. Self keywords in the return type and in the body of function are aliases for the type that appears after the impl keyword. In this case is a rectangle. All the associated function we use the double colon syntax of the struct name let square equals the rectangle square tree. Okay, perfect. The function is namespaced by the struct. The double colon syntax is used for both associated functions and namespaces created by modules. Okay, we'll do that in chapter 7. Multiple impl blocks. They're allowed to have multiples. 515 is equivalent to the code shown in listing 516, which is 515, 516. Where the hell is your 515, 516? Okay, So this is equivalent to this. Each method has its own input block. So, okay, I see. They put it in one impl. Here, it's in two. All right. No reason to separate these methods into multiple input blocks here, but this is valid syntax. We'll see a case in which multiple input blocks are useful in chapter 10, where we discuss generic types and traits. Okie dokie. And also to X as X and into X, depending on whether it actually does heavy computation, then use into, or use just a pointer offset accessing a field in a struct, for example, then use as. Okay. Yeah, we're good there. Okay. So we will delete this bookmark, add this one so we know where we're at. We're at the enums and pattern matching. And I'm gonna take a quick second, stretch, stand up, use the restroom. I still got caffeinated beverage, but I'll probably stand by anon. Think I'll do some cleaning now? Cool. I appreciate you hanging out. I'll start with more Rust tomorrow, because I know that my other Rustations are also in the Europe area. And so I try to make it sure that they can be here while we go through this. And they can tell me how I'm bad at stuff. All right. Maybe see you later. Cool. Good luck. Have fun cleaning. I will be right back. All right. Fantastic. Thinking about it, and actually, hang on a second. I'm going to stop the YouTube stream and restart it so that it creates two separate videos that'll stay up in the live video section for people who are wanting to see more of this, or to tailor their viewing. So it's going to stop for a second, but you should see me come right back up. So let me do this. That one.